What have you got on?
Just normal aftershave, I think. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Do I smell? Is my aftershave still coming through or not really?
I've just smelt you on a podcast, and you smell beautiful.
Is it still coming through or not?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, fine. That's all right then.
Football, Tom?
You're used to my smell by now. Mate, that was absolutely sensational. I don't think I've seen... Well, I don't think Sunderland fans have seen anything like it since last week at home to Coventry in terms of drama.
Mate,
So much drama.
I don't think football... Every time I watch a game of football now, I'm going to start expecting that level.
yeah.
And it's just, that's dangerous. You need to
Yeah.
stop doing this, Sunderland, because, I mean, for us, though, they are in the Premier League, so congratulations. We won't
In the Premier League.
No, and after, I think it was 8 years, they were saying on the television, it's been those terrible years in League One, those back-to-back relegations, but they've done it, and they've done it in a way that is so Sunderland and absolutely epitomises what that football club is all about. Because let's be honest, and Sheffield United fans, I imagine, might be watching this maybe in a few days' time, but it might still be quite raw. Sheffield United, for the majority of that game, were the better team, to be honest. But what Sunderland did do was absolutely, well and truly, believe and stay in the game. And that is how they won this match, because they just kept fighting. And in games like that, that's so important.
To be quite honest with you, I don't think it matters if you are the better side in a playoff final.
No.
Like, I think that absolutely matters. Like, over the course of the season, if you're the better side on enough occasions, you're probably going in the right direction. On a day like today, you need to be the team that win, and Sunderland were the team that won. And I was lucky enough to be about 20 rows from the front watching all the celebrations unfold. And when Can't Help Falling in Love with You by Elvis, the wise men say, I really, really am struggling to remember a time, probably as a neutral actually, where I've actually sat there and gone, or stood there and gone, oh my word, you can feel the emotion of how much this means to so many people. Even at 1-0 down, I thought the Sunderland fans were immense. At 1-1, it was almost like they were winning the game again instantaneously, even though all they'd done was equalise. And then when Tommy Watson scored the winner, blimey, Jack.
I felt it. So you were at the game.
You could probably... We should have mentioned, that is the Wembley Arch behind us.
We are filming this sort of minutes from the stadium.
Yes.
Meters, actually, also from the stadium.
And minutes after the game as well, so it's all very reactive. But you could feel it from here.
Yeah, I was watching it here. I'm going to the League One final tomorrow, but I watched this one from...
Are you going with anyone in particular?
I am. I'm going with my good friend. We're reminiscing on the League One days.
Oh, yes.
But it's like, well, we've done this 3 years in a row. This is our first championship playoff final we've done together. And I mean, it hasn't disappointed. What I would say as well, I think everybody speaks about the age of this Sunderland squad. It's 22 years old, 23, nearly 22.9, I think is the specific age of that starting 11. And actually, Russell Martin said after the game about sort of fearless. And actually, he said it's not necessarily being fearless in games like this. It's how you manage the fear. And younger players are actually more capable of managing that fear. Yeah. And we saw that today. That goal was, that equaliser was against the run of play, if we're being brutally honest. If you look at the way that match was going, the first 70 minutes of that game, I was watching it, I was thinking, Sheffield United have won this playoff final, and they've done it in a fantastic, I think, mature manner. They were
2-0 up at one point.
They were 2-0 up. VAR to another conversation to how I think the referee did make the right decision. But either way, they were controlling that match. The tempo, the intensity, Sunderland, the basics. They couldn't grasp that in the first sort of 70 minutes. Passing looked off. Everything looked hard work. The key players weren't being utilised. Again, credit to Sheffield United. They stopped the players like Lafay, players like Will Grigg. That is not his name. Chris Rigg.
Close enough.
Players like Chris Rigg, who, again, are also expected to make, I get it, at 17, 18, should you be expecting to make an impact? Based on his stature, we're now sort of expecting him to play a huge role, but he wasn't able to. But then you've got players like Watson who come off, who come off the bench and make such an impact. Mayenda, that finish is spectacular. And we saw it twice. I think in the first half, we saw him spin and go and win a corner.
Yeah.
And seconds later, ironically, that was when Sheffield United hit him on the break. And then we saw it for the goal where he gets in behind. And it was just moments of magic, taking their time almost to pick off moments where Sheffield United were able to kill the game off, and that's where they're going to be kicking themselves, because they should have managed that game through and won it.
Anthony Patterson's deservingly man of the match. If I was going to pick someone else, I would go Eliza Mayenda. Say it again, I was literally lucky enough to be sat right behind that as he unleashed it, and blimey, that was
rocket.
But almost like if a shot could breathe confidence.
Aura.
If aura's the right word. If you could bottle confidence and just, it was almost an arrogance about the way he hit it. I was just like, blimey,
And the celebration also was just, it was, we're gonna go down with the kids now. We're gonna go. It was cold. It was cold. It was a really sort of wow moment where you sort of just go, yeah, these lads, they could actually do this. They did go and do it. You wanted to mention as well, when we're sort of planning to do this is so raw, by the way, so there's going to be points that...
When we say planning, we were walking along the road.
Yeah, walking from there to here.
Yeah.
But you said about that injury in the first half to 09, and look, he is also physically, maybe not, is as suited to a game like this, but his leadership and what he brings, and he will fight for absolutely everything. If there's an aerial threat that he shouldn't win, he'll still go and absolutely compete. And obviously, ironically, it was a moment and a clash like that got him injured, dislocated his shoulder. Hopefully, he's okay. I'm sure that the pain will ease.
He did fall on the balcony as well, so I think he is okay.
And he was so humble in his post. You wouldn't have seen it, but his post-match interview he did on the pitch, he was just like, no, "This isn't about me. This is about the players that played." And he is that type of guy. And it was a game of combat. So for someone to get injured like that, it was actually quite likely because of how physical these two teams are. But he came off. It was replayed by Mepham, but you wanted to mention how that didn't actually phase the final outcome, interestingly.
Yeah, and I just thought, and at the time, I thought, right, we're 3.5 minutes in, and a figure, and you've described him eloquently there, as big in, you can imagine, the dressing room, and throughout this whole season and playoff campaign. I remember watching a Luke 09 interview after the second leg when he was stood there with Dan Ballard, and he made a similar point that it wasn't about him, and he was sort of bigging up Ballard and the group. I thought, oh my word, 3.5 minutes in, losing a figure like Luke 09, that could be monumentally sort of momentum shifting, really, because it felt like a really key moment in the game. But I thought Chris Mepham came on and did fantastically well. Like, to literally, could you imagine the build up to Wembley, knowing you're not going to start, and then 3.5 minutes in, you've got to do the entirety of the game, 100+ minutes in the end, wasn't it? So, he's done a full 90 and some, and I thought he was absolutely superb. And yeah, I just think there's a lot of leadership in that group. Yes, there is. But every single time I've watched Sunderland play in a big game in the Championship this season, they have absolutely turned up, right? They might not have won every single one of those games, but I think back to their games against Leeds, Sheffield United, Burnley, etc. If you go back and watch all of those games, there's an argument to be made that they're probably the better side in large spells of pretty much all of those games, both home and away legs. And actually, I think they were probably on balance the better side in both the home and away legs of the regular season against Sheffield United as well, obviously winning at the Stadium of Light. And then I thought they were unlucky at Bramall Lane. So, yeah, the sort of the undertones to this season, Sheffield United have gone from here to there in terms of we actually crowned Sheffield United our champions, didn't we, on a video not too long ago, and thought they were going to do it. And they had that crazy week where it just all fell apart. They now have an incredible playoff hoodoo that is just absolutely not going to evade them by the looks of it. And actually, when you look back at it, the muted celebrations against Bristol City, the muted celebrations at Bramall Lane and both away from home, you can kind of see why Chris Wilder was doing it, because the job wasn't done. And we saw today that the job very much wasn't done. Back to Sunderland, it's Sunderland's day. The way in which that young... I described it earlier on in the season at Fratton Park as a youthful, enigmatic imperialism, I think. Something along those...
How many words do you fit into one sentence?
Yeah, I don't think it was quite that, but it was words to that extent where you just didn't know what was going to happen next from this young group. They constantly keep you thinking, second-guessing what's going to come next. We know what's coming next for this group. That is the Premier League.
It is. The final point...
That was good, actually.
That was...
But that bit.
We should have ended it, though. Done. But there is one more thing I'd like to say as well, and actually that's the difference in the first half and the second half of the Sunderland performance. The first half, you could see they couldn't really get going whatsoever, and we saw they were almost being forced into the wide areas. They were being forced out wide. Hume had lots of room, I thought, on that right-hand side in the first half.
Yeah.
And Sheffield United were almost just comfortable. You can put it in the box as we can head it out. They were so confident in their abilities at defending their own box. They were so good at that in the first half.
Yep.
How ironic is it that both the goals in the second half come through come through the middle of the pitch. They come through Sunderland finding the ball through the middle of the pitch and scoring two brilliant goals. They were Sheffield United were fine with Sunderland operating in those wide areas, but as soon as it got to the middle of the pitch where they've got the talents, I thought the Roberts substitution was fantastic from Richard Bristow to bring him on. He wasn't good in those first 2 legs. The video after their defeat, after their win over Coventry in the last minute, I said Roberts was not impacting that game whatsoever. I thought he was poor, but it's that substitution, him coming on, finding space inside, that pass through into Mayenda is just exquisite. Now we mentioned the finish, but I think it was just about Sunderland being so patient in actually just going, we've actually been terrible up to this point, but there's still actually a weird place that we're in right now where we have one moment, we could completely shift the way that this game goes and the outcome of our season goes. So fair play. Belief is the word that comes to mind. The players have said it, and sometimes we sort of talk about the psychological impacts. It's a bird up there. That's that's what happens when you feel outdoors. But they stayed in the game. They knew that at 1-0 the game was well and truly still on, and Sheffield United would be kicking themselves because they didn't kill this game off. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, because Sunderland fans, Sheffield United fans, mainly Sunderland fans, I imagine, in the short term for sure, give me your thoughts. Mainly jubilation, I think.
One more thing. Where that game was won and lost for me this afternoon, if you'd asked that question, when VAR disallowed that second goal, the roar in the Sunderland end...
The goal, wasn't it?
It was almost like they'd scored, right? But the roar was one of, actually, lads, we're still in this game. At 2-0, okay, and I turned to the guys I was with and said, game over if this is given, because it probably would.
And it would have been, yeah.
We can't say for certain, but we're making an assumption, and I think we would have probably been right in making that assumption. The game was won and lost in both senses. When that goal was disallowed, tails were up. Sunderland knew they were still in the game, and they took that opportunity of being back in the game absolutely superbly. You're right about the first half. In the build-up this week, sort of people talking about it in various different places. Would Chris Wilder just absolutely go for it first half? Yes, he did. Sheffield United did absolutely go for it. Would Reggie Labrie play the opposition a little bit too much in those opening stages? I think perhaps maybe. But then you made a very good point that actually Sunderland were almost playing Sheffield United at their own game.
Yeah, Sheffield United were the team that we thought were going to... I think they identified in that first half that Sunderland don't really want to have the ball. Sunderland want to hit teams on the break with that pace, and we saw...
It was a basketball match.
It was, and we saw that the goals did come from pace and quick movements and patience when it comes to finding the moment and then just blitzing into life. That it did come from that. But a lot of the time, it was when the goal came from Sheffield United hitting them on the break from their own corner. Question marks, they won't care at all now.
Yeah.
But question marks will be why they were left so short in the 24th minute from a corner. That'll be frustrating if they lose that game. That'll be one where you sort of go, why is that?
Yeah.
Bravery or naivety. It's sort of a balancing act. They won't care now, obviously. But it was interesting how, the predictions of how we thought teams were going to play, it was Sheffield United actually saying that first half. And fair to Chris Wilder, they lose the game, they won't be mentioned. But if we are going to mention it and be fair, for 70 minutes, that game was all but perfect, other than taking those chances and killing the game off. And that's where Patterson, the final point and where I think we should end it, he got man of the match, and so he absolutely should have done, because he made a save seconds into the game.
Yeah.
What a save that is, by the way.
Sensational.
And then a save about a minute before they went on and equalised. 2 defining moments before you score and in the first seconds of the match. So,
absolutely,
Patterson, you need someone to step up. You need players. I always say, successful teams that win big games have a player at either end of the pitch playing at a top level. Patterson, Mayenda played okay. They played okay. Give me your thoughts in the comments down below.
Congratulations to Sunderland. Commiseration, Sheffield United. Enjoy the Premier League.
Enjoy it, Sheffield United fans, and unfortunately, you will see our faces next season again.
And Sunderland don't come back soon. Stay up.
You're quite good, I think. You're quite good, and give it a bloody good go, because the Premier League's tough, but you never know.
Rich owners. Rich owners.
Yeah, spend a bit of money.
Spend 100 million quid, you'll stay up.
Spend loads of money, guys. Yeah. Yes, we did say this with the last video we're going to do last time in our award show. Thank you so much for the support on that, by the way. We can now say thank you, because we thought that was going to be the last one. This is now the last one, I promise you. We're now done for the summer, so the last video you're going to see on this channel until July the 1st. Stay out for that. We're going to take a month to reset and get excited.
The 1st? Is that a confirmed date, is it?
For the first video.
Oh, okay.
One transfer every championship club.
You've got your calendar organised much better than I have, because I would not be able to set aside July the 1st as the first.
I need a month to get excited again.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So get excited, and we'll see you very soon. Leave a like, subscribe, and Tom, I'll see you next season. I'll see you, well, we're going to
see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. But we'll see you.
We're actually going for Nando's now,
yeah.
so
See you next season.
Away, lads.
For a camera.